Talk a little bit about your organization. Give out the web address, phone number, name of your company, how people can get a hold of you, and if anybody wants to reach out to you to do a consultation, touch on what the procedures would be, and give some background on what you do, why you're doing it, and how you're going about doing it. Go ahead, sir.
Sure, Rob. Sure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
First off, so myself and my wife, as you mentioned, we own an agency called Pivotal Life Insurance, and we focus on seniors. And what we found is that a lot of seniors have life insurance, which is a good thing. They need to make sure they're prepared, make sure there's no burden on their family. But unfortunately, a lot of the policies they find themselves into, they got 20, 30 years ago, and they may be term insurance, they may be universal life, and they have distinct differences between those and whole life insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So they may be expiring, they may not be aware of that. So we uncover a lot of vulnerabilities and offer a free review where we go through that with them and just make sure the families are properly protected. Take it a step further, you asked how they reach us. You can find us on the web. Our web address is www.insuranceispivotal.com, and our phone number is 561-412-5500. They can reach at any time. We'd love to hear from anybody that has any questions, and of course, if they need insurance, something small to make sure their family's protected, something large as well. We have a range of offerings. We're a broker. We work with over 20 carriers, so we can help with any specific needs. Just reach out again. It's 561-412-5500.
Now, you had touched on a couple different components there. There are different types of insurance. With what you're doing versus those other components, elaborate on what the major differences are.
Well, it gets complicated. I will say that, and that's one of the problems.
Right.
A lot of people that buy insurance don't really have a handle on what they're getting.
Correct.
They bought it 30 years ago, 20 years ago, even recently, and they're a little bit fuzzy on the details, and unfortunately the people that sold it to them did not take the time to explain how it works. And there are three different types of policies. Term insurance is for a specific time frame, a term. And a lot of times within the term, the rates are going to go up, but when that term ends, it expires. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have any cash value, so there's no other benefit besides peace of mind and, of course, potentially a death claim. And then there's whole life, which is permanent, it lasts forever, generally considered to be a little more expensive, mm-hmm. Depending on when you get it and how healthy you are. But there are programs designed for seniors on fixed income. People call them burial insurance or final expense insurance, mm-hmm. but those are whole life products that are designed just to cover the cost of final expenses so there's no burden left on their family. And a lot of people, again, they think because it's whole life insurance, it's going to be too expensive, but those are designed for seniors once they're living on fixed income. The permanent policies are whole life. That's the only thing that's permanent. There's also something very complicated called universal life.
Right.
And universal life is, you get it from the big companies. It has cash value. It's nice. It can potentially be less expensive than whole life insurance and has some upside and some potential mm-hmm. Benefits, but it's not designed typically to be permanent. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times when you get that, you don't know until it's too late.
That's important. And obviously, I'm guessing when you're talking about things that were purchased 30 years ago or in excess of 30 years ago, they've become outdated and there's new variables that play into the factoring, correct?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, your situation changes, right?
Correct.
When you're in your primary earning years and you want some family protection to make sure that if you're the breadwinner, you get your mortgage paid off if you happen to pass. It's a tragedy and you're prepared for that. It's great. But when you're, living in your retirement age and in these latter years, you definitely need to make sure that you're properly protected. And it's a different type of program that you really need.
It's ironic when you touch on that because I saw a statistic, I want to say it was a few months back at the very end of last year, the beginning of this year in the first quarter, there was a statistic that was going around that said that 8 or 9 out of 10 Americans live what they call hand to mouth, week to week, check to check, bi-weekly, monthly, they have less than $5,000 in their savings accounts. And over 60 or 70% of them don't even have, final expense insurance. And the price of a funeral could be, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. Could be a heck of a burden on your kids or your family. So I think it's really important that people look into the product line that you offer.
Yeah, absolutely. And to talk about the cost of funerals, you're right on. It's unbelievable. It really is. And people aren't necessarily prepared for that. People still think it costs $10,000, $12,000, $15,000.
Right.
Maybe 10 years ago you can get away for those numbers, but these days with inflation, especially over the last 5 years or so, it's been
Correct.
really just out of hand, and people aren't prepared. So we do a lot of educating on that subject. Actually, we go to senior communities and talk about those current prices, and it's the facts that we hear, and what we see, and based on our research, it's unbelievable. You could easily pay $30,000-$40,000 for this, and if you're not prepared and you don't have the money and you're living on fixed income, you don't have it saved, that burden is absolutely going to fall on your loved ones, and people don't want that.
Yeah, no, that's a tough burden. You don't want to put that on your loved ones. And, it seems like everything's went up. The value of the dollars went down. Obviously, we're at a crossroads with our economic status in our country, probably more so than any time in my lifetime. But here again, it's like there's still options out there for people. That's why I feel it's really important for us to try to help you bridge that gap and open those doors to get you into the senior community centers that you want to get into, and get you into the facilities where you can do the lunch and learns and educate the people that live there and help them. Because a lot of them, are relying on different entities that their families have put out there. They're relying on the placement counselors in those facilities. Whereas it would be really beneficial for you and Greta and your team to go in and do one-on-ones with the people and let them know that you want to be able to help them in any capacity that you can, because it's very important that happens.
Yeah, it's very important, and we focus on that education piece of it, because what happens is, and understandably so, when somebody hears life insurance, they think, oh my gosh, I don't need life insurance, I already have it. They run the other way. They don't want to talk to somebody that's there. They feel to sell life insurance. So
absolutely,
we educate, and we make sure that because they already have life insurance, they understand those dirty details and they're prepared. So getting in front of those seniors is critical. What we found, actually, Rob, is that about 7 out of 10, 70% have not necessarily, I don't want to say the wrong insurance, but a product that they don't quite understand, don't know how it works, and they're left vulnerable. So 7 out of 10 is potentially a problem. That's why we want to make sure we get in front of them and educate them.
Absolutely. I'm hearing that music in the background. It means we've come to the end of the interview. It's impossible to cover everything in one segment. That's why we're going to be conducting a series of interviews with Andy and Greta and their team over the next 6 to 12 weeks. Once again, I want you to give out your phone number, web address, and contact information if anybody wants to set up a consultation.
Of course, the company is called Pivotal Life Insurance. We're out of South Florida. The phone number is 561-412-5500, and you can find us on the web and reach out to us that way through our website at insuranceispivotal.com. Insuranceispivotal.com. Again, 561-412-5500. Look forward to hearing from you all.
Once again, we're streaming live on the iHeart app on Saturday, the 4th of May, 2000.